You're listening to PartyNerdz Weekly.
Welcome to the party, baby! I'll sound effect for you. Fuck that.
Wait, I gotta add the effect.
Jorge. So, look, after much delay, the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian have basically just came out.
Hell yeah.
And must we say that it has been a long wait, although, yeah, quote unquote, it has been a long wait. But
wait, let me get an atmosphere right now. Here we go. Sorry, I was just waiting to do that.
Darnell's nightlight.
I couldn't resist.
But
right.
Yes, Mando has returned with Baby Yoda, who needs his ass beat.
Oh, we got to get into that.
But we're going to get into that. But as a series and as an old Western, spaghetti Western, as Star Wars should have been from jump, it gets right back into the thick of things. With episode 10, which is episode 1 of the second season.
Let me just say that I don't know if you guys have watched on Disney Plus. Last season, they had the gallery, which they show you the behind the scenes, how they make The Mandalorian, where they have all the people from Kathleen Kennedy to...
I'm about to say, are you talking about the round table where they shit on Kathleen Kennedy?
Yeah. Right. Well, and they really go into the depth of the whole. Oh yeah. First of all, you can tell they all can't stand her. Whenever she starts talking, they're all like Favreau's anyway, what I was saying, as he should. But I love watching that because what you just said, James, was key, because they show you how this Mandalorian series isn't like the new movies made. It's really that old school samurai film, the old school Western. There's so many scenes where you just see them just doing life, like walking in the desert, just like those old movies. It doesn't have to be action 24/7. It sets up a certain mood when you see them in their real environment,
Right. I mean, pretty much the entire show is built off of it looks like side missions from a video game.
Yes.
Where you basically have to go somewhere, and you're not necessarily beating the big boss or anything like that. But like the first episode was like a side mission from a video game. It's you have to complete this task in order to get this armor, and then you can go on about your way, because you're going to need that armor later on. That's what I felt like that first episode was. And it was cool in that context because it was built all around the return to Tatooine, which I didn't agree with at first, but then I was like, okay, it makes sense in the end.
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of people were, really praising The Mandalorian as a show because they did fan service, but they did it well. Fan service is easy and very fickle. It's very easy to ruin, but it can always be a major payoff. I mean, with the episode that shall not be named, the last terrible Star Wars movie that came out, they
Who you telling?
The Rise of the Walker Sky?
No, it happens. They tried to make a lot of fan service with a lot of things and try to make everybody happy by throwing in all the stuff that would make us nostalgic, but it was either too heavy-handed, or it wasn't done well at all, or the way they did it, a lot of people just missed, and not even just in a, ooh, that's a cool Easter egg way, but no, they straight up missed it. A good Easter egg was exactly how the Mandalorian brought in the Crate Dragon. When C-3PO and R2-D2 crash land.
There was that skeleton in the desert. Oh,
God,
yeah. I never thought about that.
Yeah. And see,
I didn't even pick up on that.
That's a good Easter egg. It's something that it's only very small percentages are going to understand. But then when you are told about it, you're like, oh, holy fuck, that's right. And it's one of those things that can be done very easily. Another good fan service that they're doing is obviously including Tim Oliphant, who plays a sheriff in several shows. Deadwood is the one that comes to mind.
I was like, this dude is being typecast like a motherfucker, man.
he plays plenty of parts. I mean, you can see him in The Office, you see him in The Good Place, but what he's known for a lot is playing a sheriff in Western films. So to make him the marshal of the town, which is a sheriff, um, and to have him in that role was very, very smart and very on the nose. But nobody was like, of course it's Tim Oliphant. So I give them praise with a lot of the stuff that they've been doing with The Mandalorian as far as fan service because they've done a very good job of it. Another excellent example, even though it's something very small detail, but a lot of Star Wars nerds understand it, is in episode 2 when he's talking with the X-Wings and then they switch to different comm link and you see the wings open. Every Star Wars fan,
that was awesome. Yeah, and you know what? Another thing they're doing too, I think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and all the writers, they're doing a good job of answering questions from the original trilogy that we never really had answers for. Like one thing, like let's assume everyone assumed Boba Fett lived, even though they were like, oh, because he was too popular. But by that first episode, when you saw Mando go into the crate dragon, whose insides, I guess, is kind of like a Sarlacc, where it's acidic in his armor, you saw how even in that armor, you can escape that type of inner body surroundings. You know what I mean? So now when they do bring in, which, you know, we'll get into like Boba Fett and how he survived, you can see how that armor was able to withstand, you know, the acidic pressure and so on and so forth. So again, so people wonder, like, how did he survive the Sarlacc, who's, what was his digestive system, slowly digests people?
Right. And the thing is, the thing is, from that plot hole, that was like almost like fan theory for about 40 years about what happened to Boba Fett. Would you call it the Sarlacc pit? I don't want to fuck it up.
Go ahead, Bravo. You're cutting in and out.
Oh, the Sarlacc pit.
So everybody basically detailed this fan theory for about 40 years, and we finally get to that reveal 40 years later. I mean, that's awesome. that's got to blow like heavy Star Wars fans' minds because they've been guessing that since I remember when like the prequels came out.
Right.
They were like, oh, they introduced Boba Fett. That means Boba Fett's going to be in the sequels. Didn't happen.
Right. Thank God.
They did two things with Boba Fett. So in Legends, he manages to get out of the Sarlacc pit, and then they have him with like a couple other adventures. Like he fights back against Bosk, which was a longtime partner, and then another bounty hunter.
Who's the bounty hunter with the white cloak that saved him during that? That was in a book I read.
That was like a female, right?
Dengar, right?
Dengar is the one with the messed up face and the cloth over his face around. He was in Empire Strikes Back when they had Dengar, IG-88, Boba Fett, and Bosk standing there. But the other thing is I think it's Aftermath. I'm not sure. I know in one of the recent canon Star Wars novels, they did talk about how his armor was found outside of the Sarlacc. So it was suggested that he either had escaped or the armor didn't get digested while he did. But everybody, like the way it was written was leading more to, hey,
ambiguous.
The Sarlacc, and he abandoned his armor.
And go figure, for the humor factor of Star Wars, it gets picked up for trade by the Jawas, who are basically the casino of the entire Star Wars universe. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm the barter, and basically they were like the funniest part of like the first season, where they were running around like trading everything. So they have a kidnapped marshal inside of their hut, and in order for him to get out, he barters with them for Boba Fett shit.
Speaking of Jawas, my favorite Easter egg was R5, the droid, coming up in the last in the first episode.
First episode.
That was the R5 unit that they tried selling to the Owens.
Instead of R2.
Because the back of him, it has a scorch mark from where it exploded. And he goes, "Oh, you're trying to sell me this piece of crap?" And then he decides to instead take the R2 unit and the C-3PO.
I guess you got to look at this as this is what Favreau's doing. Like he's just like instrumenting like all this backstory, all these intricate Easter eggs and everything into every single episode, whether it belongs to the movies in the cinematic universe or not. And it's just providing you the context to have the opportunity to provide an opinionated dialogue off of what is happening. Because if you are really into the shit, you're finding everything.
You can tell that Filoni and Favreau really sit down and really, really love Star Wars and everything. Because they're looking for little threads that they can pick up. They're looking for little things to put in just for us, the viewers, to find. Like, I bet you guys didn't notice this either. The first scene in the first episode, the graffiti that's all over the place when you're looking at the city, and you can also see the Hound's eyes to begin with, but the graffiti everywhere is all different characters that we're all familiar with in Star Wars. So there's ones of Jabba, there's ones of Chewie, there's ones of Darth Vader, of Luke.
Oh my God.
Bravo. Those creatures in the dark when the eyes lit up, are those the same creatures that were in not Rebels, in Clone Wars? Remember when Ahsoka and Anakin went on that one island and all those things in the darkness, their eyes lit up? I wondered if those were the same creatures.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of them, but I know it's something Hounds. But yeah, they've been a staple into it. And that's, again, another thing, like, they're not introducing a lot of new concepts. They're taking all of the old ones that we like. And again, that even new people to this Star Wars franchise might not recognize, but they'll still understand there's some familiarity and important, like the Darksaber reveal.
Yeah,
well, it'll make the new fans go back and binge on the older episodes. They can be like, "Oh, okay, that's what."
I think that's what they're doing.
And they're going to say, "What is that? Oh, let me see it. Black coated lightsaber. Oh, all of this stuff for Clone Wars comes up. All right, well, let me watch the Clone Wars."
Yep. Right.
You know, another part, and I know I've read a couple articles on it. I love how Filoni and them, they're actually giving the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders, who in the original films, they were just seen as savages. It's like Mando actually figured out how to connect with them, and that makes sense because that's how cultures are. You know how the show has so much reflection on society. Like when we don't understand the culture, how we're quick to judge them. Oh, they're savages. They're just raiders. And he's like, no, like they speak with, and didn't they get somebody that really knows sign language to like teach them?
Well, American Sign Language interpreter to make the Sand People's language. So it's actual. So and we're seeing this come about a lot more with sci-fi and fantasy stuff, where anytime a language is involved, they're getting people to actually make the language and make the interpretations, and not just, okay, yeah, like make a language. No, it has to make sense in the context of these nomadic Sand People that were offshoots of the same species that created the Jawas, and they've been on Tatooine, and one of the most valuable resources is water. So how are they going to be able to talk to each other when they have terrible vocal cords and, you know, they're hunters?
And see, I find that unique because they found a group of people basically written them as being oppressed, and they were against the entire town of whatever they called it. That section of piece of Tatooine where they called Timmy Oliphant's crew, wherever that was. They announced them to the Jawas basically as being into some type of like civil war with them, where if you go to the outskirts of the land, they're pretty much going to battle you at any step that they can. But basically, you're on their land. You know, the reason that you're fighting against them is because they've been oppressed. You probably fuck with them as many times as possible, and they're just fighting back. It's a constant mano a mano.
Again, brilliant writing, because what it's doing is it's looking at the world we live in and look at everything going on with the election and all that. Like, you have a group of people that were in this small town. They're like, oh, we can't stand them. We don't want them around here. Just like people that support their own, but like, oh, we can't, the Democrats or the people in the cities are blah, 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 blah. And it took Mando and the sheriff or whatever to come together and be like, no, you need to work together to defeat this higher power, this bigger threat. And, again, like, I feel like in the writing, this Mandalorian is so good because it's just not just shallow stories for no reason. It's deeper. Everything's a lot deeper than what you're seeing. So not only are you getting these Easter eggs, you're also getting like a little clue into society of how we should be as people. Maybe we shouldn't be eating frogs' children like Baby Yoda, but
how many eggs did he eat? Holy shit!
Oh yeah,
I don't know. He had spider eggs, he had frog eggs, he had all that. But the thing is, literally, all the Jawas wanted out of this whole thing was some dragon meat. Like, we'll take some dragon meat. Y'all go about your very way. We'll make sure we.
Pearl? Wasn't there a pearl or something?
Oh, there was some pearls too out of that shit.
They wanted the crate pearl. So the crate pearl plays a significant part in Star Wars Legends. You can actually see it play a massive part in Knights of the Old Republic as well. It's a lightsaber upgrade. But
get out of here!
Yeah,
it's a lightsaber upgrade.
Lightsaber upgrade, because what happens is it's very similar to a Bezoar or a stomach stone that we'll find on animals in our world, where their own digestive system isn't that great, so they'll eat rocks. And what happens is in their stomach, it'll break up the food much like it would if you could chew. So what happens is, after all of this sand and rock gets eaten, and over hundreds of years, it condenses and creates this pearl that's extremely reflective. But not only that, it also contains, because on Tatooine there's kyber crystal filaments, very small ones that aren't like major crystals that they would find to make lightsabers. But that stone now contains all of these small fragments condensed down into a bigger one. So it's like a massive kyber crystal. But it was always seen as, kind of like a victory trophy for a great warrior. There was no way you got this unless you killed a crate dragon, which proved you were a great warrior. Even Jedi had problems fighting crate dragons. It was crate dragons, and then I can't remember the name of them. It's God. I apologize. I never have notes in front of me. I always just go off.
No excuse, Bravo.
I'm about to say, can we just call
this podcast?
Can we just call them oyster dragons?
There's another that the Jedi feared, that when Yoda's trying to go with the test of the wills, Dooku mentions that Yoda faced one and fought one. They're these massive creatures attracted to dark side energy, and they like eating Jedi. And they're mainly force resistant. But them and crate dragons were always seen as big challenges to Jedi. And if you could kill one and use the crate crystal to create your lightsaber, it was said to be a much stronger lightsaber.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what?
Thread that was from way back in another source of Star Wars that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were like, great, let's put that
in. So after this, we get this big reveal at the end of episode 1 with Boba Fett, the return of Boba Fett. But then, basically, Mando leaves Tatooine. You no longer have Boba Fett in the picture.
Did you hear the news? The most recent news is getting an offshoot.
Say it one more time. You cut off.
The most recent news is that Boba Fett will be getting an offshoot series.
Really? We see him that one time and he's in an offshoot? Like, he's not going to be in this series anymore?
Wait, I think that he's actually going to be coming back, because there's a reason why Mando has the armor. I think he's going to reunite with Boba Fett at some point in this series. But then I think you're right, Bravo. I think he's going to take his armor. I think he's going to give it back to Boba Fett, even though he's not actually a Mandalorian, hence starting the spin-off series, whatever it may be.
I think Mando might interact with Boba Fett again and try to convince him to take up actual Mandalorian ways and teach him that, because there is still a lot that Mando could learn from the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy. But I don't know if Boba Fett's going to go back to that lifestyle, because he is very obviously given up on it, because it would be very easy for him to leave Tatooine and start again and everything like that. But he looks like he's living in that desert for a while.
Let's look at a crystal ball. Can you imagine this season finale, Mando's whatever situation, dire situation he's in, you're like, oh no. And then all of a sudden, somehow he got Boba Fett back his armor. You see Mando and Boba Fett back to back. Everybody would lose their mind. That would just be like a nerd geek out moment. And if you see, first of all, I love how the sheriff used Boba Fett's little visor thing, which I never knew what that was for. If it was for tracking or if it was like for Vegeta, like rating power levels.
I never seen him use that rocket. I never seen him use that rocket.
But
and
he finally did.
The fact that it was Favreau and he used almost the same shoot the missile off, walk away type motion that Iron Man did in the first movie, that everybody started to put frame by frame with. I was like, come on, Favreau.
It was great.
I'm like, I mean, once again, he's never used the rocket. Has he ever used the rocket? Have you ever seen Boba Fett use a rocket?
No, but the toy always had it. When I was a kid, I had the toy.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
okay, you're right.
Toys in video games, in comics, in novels. Yes, I
have. God damn. So then we get to the second episode, to where, of course, as a bargaining chip, when he gets back to the weird ass old lady from One Day at a Time.
Rhea Perlman.
Yeah, Rhea Perlman. I mean, pretty much he has to take on a passenger. The passenger is this frog lady, and she's pretty much trying to harvest her species and everything like that. So she's taking this ride with Mando, with this harvest of children that's basically going to save a race and everything like that. But this is like the episode that's just weird to me, because Baby Yoda just starts turning into a brat.
he was a little shit this episode, because he knows he's very well aware, because when she was talking about her species, you saw him look sad, like he understood what was being said, but he was like, I'm eating your kids anyway. He's like, well,
it took for this, like that first scene where you basically see not only the interaction with the X-Wings. He tries to divert himself away with them. He ends up on that frost planet. I don't know if Bravo knows the name of that frost planet. Do you know?
Hoth 2, Back in the Habit.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
I was waiting to see a Wampa. I was hoping a Wampa came out.
Wah, 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 like that shit.
Not that Wampa, but yes, that's relevant.
But the thing is, he ends up on that frost planet. Frog lady decides to take a jacuzzi in this middle of this ice planet. Like, you found a jacuzzi? You found a koozie.
Well, here's the thing. Remember this. So, she's obviously a lot more at risk to the cold weather, as are her eggs, than Mando would be. Reptiles are blooded. So
she's Rick James, cold-blooded? Cold-blooded.
Out of reptiles, and I would assume also her species, are built with sensors pretty much that could sense where sources of heat are. So much like how Mando could see heat vision, and that's how he was tracking her footprints, he eventually saw all of the warmth coming out of that area. So I could believe that she would also be able to find some form of geothermal heating, because she was like, oh my God, like, I need to get out of here, because otherwise my children are going to die.
I loved her running. I love how when she ran, she actually ran like a frog. She started hopping. That was great.
Started taking off. But in the meantime, before this happens, Baby Yoda goes exploring, finds some eggs, starts eating some kids.
Mm-hmm.
And
baby spiders.
Before we end this episode, let's talk about the X-Wing fighters. I love how they gave them character. How at first you're like, this is going to be a battle. Like, they seem like they're going to be opposing Mando, but in the end, because of what he did, is like, you know what? You're still a criminal. We should arrest you, but we won't. That just kind of shows you the mentality of the rebels before, like really taking the humanistic perspective.
and the way the New Republic is trying to be, because the Empire was very, nope, you commit a crime, we're killing you. Like, and nope,
Right.
not human, you're really going to be screwed then.
Yeah, and the thing is, if they really wanted to kill him, they didn't have to shoot him. They just should have just let the arachnophobia take hold out of all them goddamn spiders and just let the whole thing get ruined.
But they knew that, you know, he had done greater good than evil, because they had the rebel from the previous one, the prison break episode, and, you know, good that he had done. So they could recognize, you know what, it's better to let somebody who's done good go out just because he doesn't want to stop for a very small traffic violation.
True. Well, guys, it looks like Jorge. Are we out of time, Jorge?
Yes, almost.
When we're talking, Jorge's like, you got 1 minute left. He's looking all cool, but he's sending us threatening texts. So, guys, another great podcast. There's going to be much more Mandalorian. We're looking forward to it.
All right, man.
PartyNerdz, PartyNerdz, PartyNerdz.